Welcome to a special edition of the Ryan Report. On November 16th, 2003, the first episode of the Ryan Report went on the air. Since then, it's been an honor and a pleasure to talk with so many outstanding guests. Today is the final edition, the last broadcast, and I'll have much more to say about that as we move through the show. We're here earlier than usual, so we will have time for several guests to be part of this final broadcast. They are some of the people who have meant a lot to me and the show through the years. I'm so happy they could join me this morning. We'll start by sharing some memories with former TV6 General Manager Brad Van Slyters. That conversation starts right now.
From TV6, this is the Ryan Report. Here's your host, Don Ryan.
So nice to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to be here.
I said before the show, you get the credit or blame for the Ryan Report being on the air.
Probably both, eh?
It was your decision, and I was hopeful you would make that decision. Mm-hmm. But we met in your office September or October of 2003, mm-hmm. and I had an idea for a show and shared it with you, and we kind of worked it through and talked about different possibilities.
You did.
And we wound up with this show.
Yeah, it was an interesting process because you and I knew each other from many years before, working in the community on many different projects. And we got together and we thought, gee, you know, it's time for you to maybe expand, you know, on a public basis, you know, all the thoughts you have and bringing people to the air that knew you and you could work with them. And it was an interesting roundabout. I don't know how quickly it was that we came to a decision. Do you remember?
I think fairly quickly.
Fairly quickly.
I mean, I don't think there was a series of meetings. I think we pretty much agreed at the first meeting, and then maybe had to work out some of the details.
I think we, excuse me, I think we involved some of the other people too. I think at that time, if I'm not mistaken, Ed Carney was around.
Right, news director.
And Steve was around at that time. And I think we explored a lot of different avenues about where we would run it, for one thing, you know, what time of the day, what day of the week. And then with the topic matter, how did we come up with topic matter?
And I don't know if you remember, but initially the show was at 11:30 on Sunday night.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
11:30 on Sunday night. Yep.
And not for long, because then I think the station decided, you decided, we would do better on Sunday morning, and I moved to 10 o'clock on Sunday morning.
10 o'clock on Sunday morning, and Carl Pellenpaul was still rolling it on Sundays as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, I think so.
Yeah.
So I have a clip from the very first show.
How cool.
And I want to show that right now. So if you want to look at the screen, we can see this was the very first show. Welcome to the first edition of the Ryan Report. I'm glad you could join us for our first show. We're especially pleased to have as our first guest on our first show, Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm. The governor was in Marquette recently to conduct a public meeting on the state's financial crisis and took the time to sit down with us and discuss some of the challenges facing Michigan. And so after a year, are you still feeling good about your job?
I love this job. It is a very challenging time to be governor. I think it would have been a lot easier to be governor in the 90s when there was a lot of money to hand out. But I think the greatest privilege of all is exercising leadership in times that are tougher.
This is not only the first edition of the Ryan Report, but for me, a return to WLUC TV. So I wanted to do something that was a little unique for the first show. And thinking about it, I remembered that back when I first started here, there were only two people who appeared on the air during the news, sports, and weather shows each day. I did the news and weather, and a guy named Norm Koski did the daily sports report. That man behind the radio microphone is Norm Koski at WHKB in Houghton, which is where we headed on a recent snowy morning.
I was working at the radio station in Hancock at the time, WMPL, and I used to talk daily to Tom Moore, the news guy.
Okay.
And I said, well, how did you get into television? And, well, he told me, and then he says, you know, we're looking for a sports guy. Are you interested? And I said, well, yeah, but, you know, I've never been in a TV station in my life.
Just a little behind-the-scenes story about that story. We were starting the show, And then I heard that the governor was going to be in town. And I thought, wow, this would be fantastic on the first show.
Sure.
To have the governor. Well, she was pretty solidly booked up. But they worked it out that I could actually meet her at the Mining Journal.
Oh.
And so we actually
that,
went to the Mining Journal to meet her.
Our competitor.
Ed Carney, Ed Carney was the photographer, videographer, and so we did the interview there.
Yeah, that was pretty special. I think one of the beautiful parts about your show was that it drew lots of people onto the air that gave them an opportunity to expand a little bit on the thinking and how involved they were and we were in the UP with the people in Lansing and other places. And I think that was the beauty of the show. And you had a strong history of being involved in the community, and that's what we played off of, and it was really popular.
The other thing, besides your agreeing to put the show on the air, you actually named the show. I don't know if you remember that.
It wasn't. Why wasn't the Brad report then? I didn't. No.
But you did come up with the name, the Ryan Report, and
How convenient, huh?
I have to think I was a little
something involved there.
Maybe this was too
a little pushback.
Yeah, but it was okay.
Well, it's fantastic, Don. I mean, it's just an amazing. It's been such a history, and you've been so involved in so many different things, and the television station is lucky to have had you.
I appreciate
as
that.
a strong supporter.
Yeah. How are you doing in retirement?
I love it. It's fantastic. Didn't mean to retire so quickly in 2007, but after being through 5 different owners and different programs and whatnot, it just became apparent that it was time to move on and let somebody else take over. And I think it was Rob Jamrose and now Rick Rhodes, and both of which I had something to do with in their careers. And it's good. And I'm glad the station is so strong too. It's still, a powerhouse in this area.
Doing a show like the Ryan, putting it on the air initially, that's not an easy decision, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, you have to give it some cognitive thought and some how it's going to work and blend into things, and also the cost of doing it,
Right.
And but I think locally produced shows is something that has made television strong. And when you just take syndicated shows, I think you lose a lot. And I think that you're having Carl Pellenpaw and you and the news shows and expanding them to 7 o'clock and expanding the morning news, all is a quintessential part of what makes local broadcasting what it is, the powerhouse in a community. Reaching out, bringing people on the air, and letting other people hear what's happening. And that's really kind of what you do too.
And that's certainly what's happening in the industry today. So in a sense, we were kind of ahead of our time, I guess.
Yes, we were, and I hope it stays that way.
Did you ever have any concerns after the show first went on the air about, this isn't working quite the way I had hoped?
I don't think so, because if it did, it would stand out in my mind, and I really don't think I never had any fears, because we had worked together on certain political projects, and I knew your strengths, and I knew you were cautious about what you would do. Maybe you did. I don't know if you had that feeling at all, but I trusted where we were going, and developed revenue from it, and that was the whole idea.
Well, I'm really glad you made the decision, even though I'm ready to bring it to a conclusion now, but it was great being here all these years.
I do know your history.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in very much.
Well, thank you very much for inviting
Brad.
me in. Thank you very much.
I'll be back with a conversation with a familiar face here on TV6 after we take this break.
Hey Don, I just wanted to step outside on this beautiful snowy day to take a moment to honor you and all the work that you've done here at TV6. When I think about the Ryan Report and the way that you committed to that show and the time that you put in, the knowledge and the preparedness, it was something that always struck me and something that I really tried to emulate when I was there and working on my series and my stories. You just had a level of professionalism that showed in your work and in the Ryan Report. I think the show itself was something that was very respected and something that we could trust as good information, and it will be missed. And your knowledge and the expertise that you bring to everything you do. It's been incredible to work with you. I think, you've been in and out of TV6. I've been in and
Don, on behalf of UP Health Systems Marquette and Bell, we just want to wish you the very best. Thank you for your many years of providing education and news reporting to the communities of the Upper Peninsula, and for making every interview with me seem like a normal fireside conversation. So you will be missed, but best of luck.
Well, the phrase, "our next guest needs no introduction," is overworked, but certainly not in this case. Steve, you spent 42 years here on TV6?
Yeah, I did. 42 years doing just about everything in the newsroom you could think of.
Yeah. You know, I wanted to have you on the show because you were very helpful to me when we started the show. You know, even though I had a lot of background and had worked in TV and done other things, I hadn't worked in television for almost 30 years.
Yeah, it was
back.
quite different from when you left and when you came back.
Yeah.
A lot more technology was introduced, and you had a lot more to learn.
Right. You know, I had the part of sitting down at the desk with someone.
Yeah.
But all the rest, the things that had to be done, and of course even the planning. So I really appreciate it.
You know, and the planning, a lot of little people, or the people out there, don't realize it looks really easy, like there's little work. But behind the scenes, it's an incredible amount of work that you do. I mean, from planning and scheduling and doing the actual preparation and everything for the questions and your guests. It's unbelievable. I was impressed just with your work ethic behind it.
I appreciate it. You know, as having been the news director for many years, TV6 wants to provide newscasts that are of interest to the whole UP.
Correct, yeah.
You know, we're here in Marquette, but we want to cover Marquette, but we want to cover everything. And so that was one of my goals, too, to try to develop shows that would have an appeal across the UP. Now, you know, you don't win it every time, but at least I think we were fairly successful at that.
And you did. I mean, you hit everybody, you know, from all the politicians across the board throughout the Upper Peninsula, including some of the sports figures that were big in the UP.
Yeah.
You know, and I forget the gentleman's name that was from Munising.
Clyde Leveillette.
He played basketball.
Right.
And he was a towering man. And you guys sat down and it was like you were in the living room with him.
You know, the background on that is, you know, I was working in the radio in the 50s and 60s and recalled the name Clyde Leveillette, you know, when I was doing sports. And so then I saw a story on the news one night on our station that Clyde Leveillette was on the Munising City Council. I thought, oh, that can't be the same guy. So I called him.
Oh,
and it was.
It was.
It was the same guy. And so he agreed to come in, and we've got a video clip, and if I'm remembering right, this is with Governor Snyder. And let's take a look at that. Well, let's quickly deal with that personal milestone matter first. It was 50 years ago this week that I started working here at TV6. I joined the staff as the news anchor and weatherman, and I haven't been sitting in this same chair for 50 years. My career took some interesting twists and turns since then, but I'll have more to say about that at the end of the show. Right now, let's get on to the main reason for being here. After a very successful business career, Rick Snyder threw his hat in the ring in 2010, and the political unknown was elected governor of Michigan. In 2014, he was elected to a second term. He's a very busy governor, and we're pleased he took time today to join us. Governor, welcome to the Ryan Report.
Well, it's great to be with you, Don, and congratulations on 50 years. That's awesome.
Yeah, it just means I'm old, I guess.
No, well, actually, when I turned 50, which was a few years ago, I said the good part is I hope it's not that, you know, dark age and how people make it. I said I hope it's the onset of wisdom.
Well, I think that's what it is too. And
yeah.
I just keep going.
Got to be positive about these things.
You know, thinking about that, looking back at your career, which is very successful, was there a moment, you know, that really turned things on for you or set you in the right direction?
Well, the good part, well, it started with my folks in terms of I've always had great mentorship, people that sort of gave me good advice. In terms of my political career, it was interesting. It actually happened, I was out to dinner one night with my wife in early 2009 talking about my concern for the future of Michigan, and she sort of called me out. She said, you're concerned, and she said, I'm concerned about our kids being able to stay in Michigan and find great careers and such, and she said we should talk about you running for governor.
And that was it.
And that's what sort of triggered it and started off on that path. And the interesting part is when I got going, people may forget, nobody knew who I was.
Right.
So my early supporters, I actually have a nickname for them. I call them the Margin of Error Club. And the reason I do that is I'd actually have people come up to me when I first got started and say, did you know if you apply the margin of error, you could actually be a negative number in the polls? And I always thanked him for that, but you can see I think it turned out pretty good.
I think it was great that over the years I was able to interview all of the governors, oftentimes in more than once. But I think you will appreciate this with your background. When I started the show, my goal was not to be the interrogator, but my goal was to sit down and have a conversation with people.
And I think that resonated with viewers a lot because they could really get comfortable watching the program and get to know the person a little bit better. I mean, when we did it in the news, it was like 15 seconds, here and there, and 7-second soundbite. That's about it, as the story had to develop and move on. But you had the chance to sit down and delve a little deeper into who they were as a person, which really made a big difference.
Well, and I think it resulted in conversations like that where the governor's just very friendly and is congratulating me and we're congratulating him. And
you got to know him as a person because there's more to people than meets the eye on the news every day.
People often ask me, did I have a favorite show? And I truly don't. I mean, there are a number there are so many. You mentioned the sports things. I did a colonoscopy on TV.
That's right, you did. That. I do remember that. Yeah. That was like groundbreaking because Katie Couric had it like before that.
Right.
But you did it, and it was like, wow. And I bet that resonated with a lot of people, and that they got care as a result.
That was Dr. Frank Welsh, and my son Mike was the videographer here at the time.
Yep.
So he shot it, and we actually showed the inside of my colon. So it's been on TV.
Quite revealing, inside and out. We know you.
Inside and out. Yeah. So. We only have a few seconds left. Any final thoughts as we wrap up this?
It's just been a privilege to have known you all these years and to actually work with you because it means a lot. I mean, looking to you as a person of experience and your background, the people that you know, I mean, it's amazing that you as an individual can call somebody up and they'll pick up the phone and talk with you and have a conversation. Said, yeah, well, I'll be up there next week. I'll be right there.
Okay, well, having you alongside really helped to make it better, and so I appreciate your coming in today.
We made a good team, and it's great to have you as a friend and a colleague all these years.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Don.
We'll have a conversation with Senator Ed McBroom when we return after this important message.
What an honor to be able to wish you a happy retirement, Don. You were my mentor when I was the president of the Marquette Area Chamber of Commerce, which became the Lake Superior Community Partnership. And I remember you being the star of all of our fabulous videos, bringing humor to the economic development efforts of the LSCP. You invited me to be part of the Comedy Club, which I think back on those days and I'm still in stitches about them. And you taught me everything about the most important aspects of public relations with your role at Cleveland Cliffs and everything that you've done, of course, since then on the Ryan Report as well. And thanks for helping Steve Mariucci and I tell our story of the Beacon House to everyone across the Upper Peninsula. But just mostly thank you for using all your talents and skills to help everyone around you. We will miss you. We wish you all the best, and thank you, Don.
Hey, Don. Congratulations on a long run of the Ryan Report. I just wanted to say congratulations. I have known you forever. You have been such a mentor, such a leader in everything I've done, and more importantly, a friend. So congratulations and enjoy your time.
Everybody is saying congratulations. I'm not sure what this actually is, other than the end of the Ryan Report. Senator McBroom, nice to have you with us.
Yeah, it's nice to be with you, but it is congratulations. I mean, this is a big accomplishment.
Well, so. I'm hoping there's still more ahead, but I am getting older.
Well, I'm sure you'll still find ways to be involved and keep us in the news. So.
We touched on it a little bit earlier in the show, but the whole idea, much of the idea for the show, focused on people like you and people in the job you have. I would see so many examples of when a representative or senator, whoever it might have been, was taking a position on an issue, and the news would cover it, but you had about
10 seconds
at most, and so I thought if we could develop a show where people like you and others, people in business, other community leaders, could really tell their story, and that's what the show is all about. Did it work?
I think so. I think it's a bit of a tribute to the way people in the Upper Peninsula want to know what their folks are saying, their elected leaders are saying and doing more than just which party said it. They want to know, why did they say that? What's their purpose? What's their intent behind this? What's motivating them? Are they real people? I mean, what do they know about the UP? What do they know about the struggles we're having? And do they really understand this issue, or are they just paying lip service to it? And programs like yours, and honestly, I mean, TV6 in general gives us better coverage than most of my colleagues can get anytime downstate. But to have a show like yours that can get in depth really makes the job better for us. It makes it, gives us the opportunity to share those ideas, but then also get that feedback, because people got to hear the whole story in a lot more detail.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, and really early on in the show, early guests were not Senator, but State Representative Tom Casperson,
yeah.
Senator Mike Prusi.
That's right.
I mean, and we've had so many through the years. Yeah. When the show started, when you started in the House, I had actually gone on hiatus,
right,
so I could serve on the Marquette City Commission. So we didn't cover you initially because the show
right.
wasn't on the air. So I do have a video of the first appearance of Ed McBroom on the Ryan Report. And let's
I hope I'm not wearing the same tie.
It's very short. This is the first time you and I have had a chance to sit down and talk like this.
Yeah, we've only met in passing a few times beforehand, and
right.
once before I was in office, and you didn't even know who I was then. So
that's probably true. You know, we keep hearing you're a dairy farmer. You're a lifelong dairy farmer. Are you still a dairy farmer?
Yeah, I was just out at 2 in the morning checking on a couple of cows and on some springing heifers I've got, and was wiring up drinking fountains and got stuff all over my hands, and it's a busy life. And so when I'm not in Lansing, especially in the mornings, I still do a lot of farming. Most of the constituents don't want to see me at 2 and 3 in the morning, so
okay.
The cows don't seem to mind though.
And you're still dealing with those cows, huh?
That's right. I do have cameras now out in the barn, so I can sometimes check them from up in the house, but other times they don't work, and I have to still take that 2 in the morning walk out there and see how they're doing.
You know, you're finishing up your time in the Senate and in the state legislature. What kind of changes have occurred over the years?
Oh.
Other than the fact maybe that different parties have been in control.
Well, I mean, I'm a guy who has observed the way the system works and felt like one of the reasons why so many things don't go well is because the system itself does not modernize and adapt very well, and people don't pursue those changes, especially under term limits. So I've tried to push a number of reforms and ideas that would help make the legislature work better and be more responsive to the needs of the people in the future. Unfortunately, none of those have managed to get through because they're just not the sexy or important political issue of the day. They're kind of forward, long-term thinking type, and it's difficult for the legislature to do those. So that's been a bit of a letdown for me. So as far as how have things changed, I mean, in my time there, it's, of course, technology and things like that are a part of it, but I think the discourse has gotten coarser. There's more and more tribalness and less ability to work together and to set ourselves on a goal that needs to be obtained, that must be obtained for the betterment of the state. We still do get a few things done. We got a road funding bill done finally last year, but many things just languish, and it is a never-ending battle. And for the 4 guys from the UP in particular, that battle is really, really challenging. To be 4 out of 148 is a huge challenge, and we work hard together because otherwise we don't get anything done.
Okay. Unfortunately, it seems like it's become more polarized as we go along. Is that a fair assessment?
I think, that's a national issue, as well as at the state and even at the local level. Where I think programs like this try to help undo that. We just don't have enough programs like this, right? It's really easy to go to social media and just listen to the people that you agree with, and be in that echo chamber. You brought on people that you don't agree with. You brought in people that you knew were controversial, but you gave them that chance to share their ideas and allow people to identify that even though I disagree with this person, they care about the state, they care about their family, they care about this project. And I try to remember that about all my colleagues all the time, that 99% of them are there for the right reasons. They're there for many of the same reasons I am. They care about their community, they care about the state, and they want to see it made better. And if the more we can remind ourselves of that, I think the more hope we have for functional government.
Are you going to miss being in Lansing when your term is up?
I believe in my job. I believe that I'm relatively good at it, and I will miss. I would do it again if I could, but term limits say I'm out. So.
Do you have any plans?
Milking cows.
Milking cows?
Milking cows, and I suspect there'll be opportunities to get involved. Future governor might ask me to sit on a commission or be on a board, but I think my latter rungs have kind of come to an end, and maybe DC someday, but I don't have a burning passion for that the way I have a passion for the UP and for Michigan,
right.
And that's where I've really found my heart is at.
Well, it's been great having you and having the opportunity to talk to you many times over the past few years. And
privilege was all mine.
In the future.
Thank you, Don.
Much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Senator. I'll be back with some conversation with Marty Fattanti after we take this break.
Hi, Don. I just want to thank you for all of the years that you have been here for the Upper Peninsula, guiding us through a lot of different things that have happened in our lives and in our community and in our region. Been some good things, been some rough things, and you've been there a nice, steady presence for all of us. So I thank you for that. And I wish you the very best as you move on to wherever life leads you next. Thank you.
Hey Don, congratulations on your retirement. When you're looking back on things, I want to remind you what a great honor you gave me when you invited me on your show the first time. And what an even bigger honor it was to get to know you and become your friend. I hope you truly enjoy the years to come. All the best from everyone at Stormy Kromer.
And my guest is Marty Fattanti. Marty is the former Chief of Staff for Senator Tom Casperson, and more recently as the CEO of Invest UP. So you have kind of a dual connection with this show in the sense that, political has been a big part of it, but so has business, economic development. So you've provided some real connection for me there. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Don, and thanks so much for having me. It's truly an honor.
It's great to talk with you. That Tom Casperson was on I think my second show, and it appeared many times on the program, and it really made a difference, in getting the show off the ground and getting it well established. What was it like working behind the scenes for a state senator like that?
Well, we were friends before we worked together, and it was a great honor to work for him and great privilege. And you helped him as much as he may have helped you in those early years, because you certainly helped to make him known and really his passion and love for the Upper Peninsula. And that's what I'll always remember about Tom. In fact, I have his watch on today, is just his love for the region and his sincerity. He truly just cared.
Yeah. You've taken on a new assignment, not so new anymore. What is it, about 5 years maybe?
7 already.
7 already. Yeah. As the CEO of Invest UP, the leading economic development group in the UP. We've talked before about economic development, and obviously there are many factors that get involved. One of my strong feelings has always been, it's that entrepreneur that can really make a difference. Do you agree with that?
I do. The backbone of the Upper Peninsula is small business and entrepreneurship, and what we're seeing now alongside that is the opportunity of innovation, and I think it's one of the really exciting pieces of what's going on across the Upper Peninsula, and you've helped give voice to that with some of those that you've interviewed. But with what's going on up in Houghton, in Marquette, and other pockets of the Upper Peninsula, that innovation piece is, I think, as important as entrepreneurship today.
I've got a couple of video clips. We'll look at one now, but to me, one of the interesting, it's more than just economic development, it's kind of history of an industry. I had a chance to talk with John Gilbert, and here's just a small part of that conversation. Your family, when did they start in the dairy business?
In 1937, on a farm in Lake Linden.
Okay. And back in those days, it was pretty much a farmer and his cows providing milk for a few neighbors, right?
Yes. Well, what they did, the farmer would bottle milk by hand in glass bottles and haul it to town.
Okay.
And they would either trade for goods and services or they sold it. And in 1948, I think it was, the state changed the rules that you could not sell raw milk anymore.
Okay.
So my parents built a little plant next to the farm, and they bought the proper equipment to pasteurize milk.
Okay.
And then we were taking the milk in from the neighboring farms.
Okay.
And we were delivering to stores and restaurants at that time in the Lake Linden area.
And that's really the way the whole dairy industry grew.
Evolved, yes.
You know, you went from farmers supplying some people to farmers going to a central group, a central company, and them doing the distribution.
Yeah, that's where we started.
Like I say, it was interesting to me because it kind of, the history of the whole industry, kind of in a lifetime, you know, that it went from farmers milking cows to the large dairies we have today. Obviously, there are probably some similar examples going on in different industries, aren't there?
That's what I was thinking as I watched it, Don. You know, John Jobit's, I think, reflective of those hardworking, industrious men and women that we have that takes an idea and scales it and grows it and is instrumental to the local economy. So I think he really is an example of what's made the Upper Peninsula economy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I've made a partial list of some of the people I've talked to. Bill Verrett, Dave Bruley, Dave Hawley, Dan Musser when he was running the Grand Hotel, a couple of Cleveland Cliffs presidents, Todd Penegor from Iron Mountain, who
CEO of Wendy's,
yes,
now Papa John's.
Now Papa John's. So, you know, it's been interesting getting some great business leaders on the show. But I also had a chance to interview earlier on in the game Bob Jackward as he was getting into the Stormy Kromer. And, you know, you think it's a well thought out decision, but actually Bob has a different story. Let's take a listen to that.
He found me in a coffee shop. That dealer found me in a coffee shop that day and said, they quit making Stormy Kromer hats, you better do something about it. And I smiled at him and said, get me the number, I'll buy the company. And when those words came out of my mouth, I said to myself, yeah, right, Bob, you're going to do that. And
but this has to be one of the biggest moves in your career with your company.
Oh, for sure. And you know, they say we're smart and all that stuff. This was just a reactionary, this would be fun to own this company. And then we've had some wonderful things happen to get us launched. We got real good visibility early on by the Milwaukee Journal. They wrote a tremendous article. I was the front page of the Sunday paper for the Journal, and that just kind of put us into a nice trajectory of growth that we've been able to maintain.
And this was the first time you really had to get into big-time sales and marketing.
Absolutely. You know, good research on your part, because up until then we had been making things for other people.
So it's an interesting story, but you know, it's just surprising, and like I said a moment ago, I'm sure there are more stories that, you know, but it takes the entrepreneur, but it also takes an organization like yours in many cases to remove some roadblocks or to smooth out the road or to help them along the way, doesn't it?
It takes the community, really, at the end of the day. You know, when I took this job, I didn't really appreciate the fact that the reality is every one of us within a community, you know, politicians like Senator McBroom and Senator Casperson, to community leaders, to business leaders, to really have a vibrant economy, it takes each and every one of us kind of moving that forward.
Time's going so quickly this morning. Thanks for coming in. You know, I'm glad we had a chance to talk. You've been a faithful guest on the show, and you've helped us in many ways, and I appreciate it very much.
Well, thanks, Don. I have a little something just to commemorate all you've done. It's a Superior Difference Maker tribute to you for really a lifetime of dedication to public service, community service for the Upper Peninsula.
Well, thanks very much, Marty. I appreciate that very much. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
I'll be back with a conversation with Rick Rhodes after we take this break.
Hey Don, it's Tia Trudgeon here, about to anchor my newscast in Burlington, Vermont. I just wanted to wish you a very happy semi-retirement. I know your role at TV6 is changing, and I'm so happy for you. I also just wanted to say thank you for all of the mentorship and guidance. You are truly an exceptional resource in the newsroom. I don't think I'd be here without having gotten to work with you. So thank you and congratulations once again.
Hi Don, I just wanted to thank you and thank you for your show and the many years of public service that you've provided to the Central Upper Peninsula and Marquette area. I wish you well in your endeavors. I know you're not retiring, and I thank you again for everything you've done for our community.
My next guest is TV6 General Manager Rick Rhodes. Rick, nice to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Don.
You're not a stranger to the show.
Not
You've
at all.
been here. Yeah.
No, quite a regular.
We've had some fun.
We had some fun, yeah, and congratulations, and this is a great day, and wish you the best. But, you know, for the folks that are watching out there, Don will still be contributing. We just need to figure out what that is. But, yeah, this has been a great run.
It's been, you know, the expression bittersweet works. You know, it's good to be able to take a break here, but it's hard to walk away from something that started back in 2003.
Absolutely. Which is when I started. I started in 2003, and actually, Brad Van Sliders, who was on the first segment, he was general manager when I started in sales. Okay. And I was here for about a month.
And he approved hiring you.
He did approve hiring me, yeah.
He approved hiring both of
He
us,
did,
so
yes, he
we have
did.
something in common.
But I was 1 month on the job, and I was handed a package on a program that we had to sell, and that program was the Ryan Report.
Okay.
So 1 month in, and
did you sell it?
I did sell a few, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We've got a couple of clips that we're going to use during the interview, and one was, we had Governor Whitmer. You know, earlier in the show we had Governor Snyder, Governor Granholm. We also had Governor Whitmer, and she was here, and this was her first appearance in the UP.
I remember that.
After she became the governor. So let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
This is your first visit, I believe, to the Upper Peninsula as governor. I know you've been here many times before.
Right.
Any special thoughts for the parts of the people here in the superior part of Michigan?
Well, I agree. I love this part of our state. We are so fortunate to have this beautiful landmass, but the best part about the UP are the people who call it home, and I am thrilled to be here.
Your visit here coincides with the UP's 200 sled dog race, one of many tourism events here in the Upper Peninsula. This tourism is very important to the UP. How will your administration support tourism in Michigan?
Well, there's no question, and the sled dog race is one wonderful thing, but I also know Winter Carnival is another coming up in Houghton, and throughout all 12 seasons, or all 12 months I should say, there's always something fun to do here in the UPs.
It's too early to talk about legacy, but as you think about that, when you get down the road and that time comes, what do you want your legacy to be as governor of Michigan?
Well, you know, I was raised, my dad was a Milliken Republican, my mom was a Frank Kelly Democrat. I was raised to understand that we have to work together in order to solve problems. And I hope that at the end of my time as governor that people will recognize that I did everything I could to pull parties together and solve problems, and Michigan's better off because we did it together.
Okay. So the interesting part of that story is she only had a limited time to be with us. We couldn't fill a whole show. And you were also a guest on that same show.
I was, and it was one of the highest rated Ryan Reports of all time.
Yeah, probably.
Had to throw that in there.
You got a lot of.
But actually, speaking of which, Don, we actually, with the governor, this is actually, the timing's perfect, but we actually have a nice letter written by the governor dedicated to you. I won't read it, but.
No, it'll take the rest of the show.
Yeah, it would take the rest of the show, but I wanted to present this to you. This is from Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and wishing you congratulations and thanking you for your service here on the Ryan Report.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks to the governor. She has been an interesting guest. I recall during the COVID epidemic, we did an interview at the Veterans Home.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it out in the yard, and they had us about 30 feet apart.
I remember that too.
Trying to do an interview.
Yeah.
But we got it done. You know, it's interesting how the business is changing, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, the whole news business has pretty much changed dramatically since people like Steve and I were starting out here.
Yeah, and you know, we'd often talk about the changing landscape of our business, you know, over the last 10 years. But I will say our business has evolved and going to evolve more in the next couple of years than I think in my entire 23 years here at the station. You know, things are moving quickly, and we have to adapt and mold to a lot of the digital products and the digital offerings and the digital distribution of our business. So it's been an interesting couple of years, and it's going to get even more interesting.
You know, and before you were born, I've told the story before that I was here, not working here, I was in high school, when TV6 went on the air. You know, and TV was TV. There was no streaming, there were no computers, there were nothing on your phone. I mean, there were no cell phones. And you know, where we are today is just so very different.
Well, to put that into perspective, I mean, when I started here as a salesperson, we had one platform to sell, and that was NBC. Today, the salespeople have 4 different quotas that they have to meet from the revenue side. So it's gone from 1 to 4, and there's going to be some more revenue quotas coming their way soon. They just don't know about it yet.
We have one more short clip. I had a chance to interview the initial station manager here at TV6, and this is Bob Luke. Let's play that now.
It was quite exciting before even going on the air. All of the TV dealers were excited about it. The old Northland Hotel in Marquette became headquarters for most of the TV suppliers that were trying to find local outlets, and others came in that were interested in checking with us to see whether it was going to be worthwhile to advertise in a market that was just starting up. You had to start proving set count, and of course our first year was quite difficult. And we had the local dealers throughout the UP letting us know how many sets they sold out of their operations. Some of the, I remember Johnson Sports Shop became the RCA dealer, and that was one of the better sets. In fact, our entire management group purchased sets from Johnson Sports Shop so we could have them before we went on the air.
I wanted to play that clip because it relates to what we were just talking about. When they went on the air, the question was, would there be people able to watch the signal on TV?
Yeah.
And now, you know, it's, will they be streaming, or will they be on cable, or, you know?
Well, what struck me about that interview with Robert Luke was the us coming live on the air, the lift that it gave to the television selling industry, right?
Oh, yeah.
Folks selling set-top boxes saw a huge economic lift from that.
Television sets, yeah.
Yeah, and also them trying to add television sets to get that count so we can be accredited. So a lot of hard work in the early days, lots of hard work.
Unfortunately, our time is up. I appreciate your coming in, and thanks for being part of this final show.
Well, thank you, Don, and best of luck. And thank you for all you've done for our TV station over the years, not just for the Ryan Report, for everything that you've done. You've made a huge impact to us, and you know, we just want to thank you for that.
And I want to stay connected.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Back with some other thoughts for you in just a couple of minutes. It was November 16th, 2003. I was excited to host and produce the first edition of a new show here on TV6 called The Ryan Report. I was 64 years old and had just retired as the manager of public affairs in Michigan for Cleveland Cliffs. At the time, I saw it as an opportunity to take on a new assignment for a few years before heading into retirement. It never crossed my mind that nearly 23 years later, I would still be hosting the show each week. I recall watching a noted speaker one time whose name escapes me, and one of the key points of his message was that everything in life has a beginning and an end. And today, while it's difficult for me to say, we have reached the end of the Ryan Report. While I loved doing the show, and still do, I've reached that point in my life when it became too much of a challenge to produce a show every week. One's age does become a factor. The decision to call it quits was mine. TV6 management has always been very supportive and was willing to keep the show on the air as long as I was willing to be part of the project. As I look back, having had the opportunity to meet and talk with so many fascinating and successful people from all walks of life, and to share those conversations with the TV6 viewers in Upper Michigan has been an experience I will always treasure. My approach to the show has always been to provide a place where people who serve us and those who have accomplished things with their life can share their story. They range from those who represent us in the halls of government in Lansing, to Olympic gold medalists and sports stars, to successful leaders in industry, to people working to make our communities better places, and to individuals who just have an interesting story to tell. I've enjoyed talking to each one, sometimes if I have a favorite show. People wonder if I have a favorite show. But when I think about that, so many come to mind. Planning for this final episode caused me to look back at the list of over 700 shows, and it brought to mind so many that were special to me, and hopefully to our audience. But as I said, everything has a beginning and an end. And while the Ryan Report is coming to an end, I do plan to continue to be associated with TV6 and look forward to some new projects in the future. It has been a joy to be part of the TV6 staff and to spend part of each day with the young reporters in the TV6 newsroom. What has been very special for me has been coming into your homes every Sunday morning. It's been a real pleasure for me, and I hope to see you again soon.
Okay, so welcome. Hey, we got some balloons here. Yeah, that's right. We threw you off guard there. Yeah. Welcome back to the last segment of the Ryan Report. Don doesn't know anything about what we're going to do here. We told him to not produce the last segment, and there you go. Is that Brad? That is Brad. That is Brad. Former GM at TV6. But Don, we wanted to take this last segment and congratulate you on a very successful Ryan Report, and thank you for all you've done at the station. We got you this wonderful cake here. I don't know if you can zoom in or not. Chad, can you zoom in from there? We're testing the. But basically, this is Don's picture when he was doing the weather. What year was this? 1966.
Around 65.
There we go. You can see it there. Yeah. I don't want to dump this over because we'll have cake everywhere.
That's a famous picture.
Yeah.
Back in the days.
Who is it?
We had no graphics. We had nothing. I tell people we didn't even have a thermometer.
Yeah.
But
did you ever do any of the live Blatz commercials? Did you ever have to do the
No,
live?
I didn't have to do the pour. No.
No?
Okay. No, that was before my time. Carl Pellenpah was great at those.
Yeah, he was. We also, something that actually is extremely important here that we wanted to do is with your length of service here at the station, we wanted to do something to, make it everlasting, long-lasting, to remember you and everything you've done with the station. So we are going to dedicate the studio that we're all sitting in here, and we're going to name this the Don Ryan Studio.
Wow.
And I don't know if you can zoom in on this, Chad, but we have a plaque here. There you go. This is a rough draft. We're going to have a cleaner cut here, but this is dedicated to Don Ryan, and I will read this. Don Ryan, a lifelong Yooper, has dedicated his life to broadcasting and community development. He began his career at age 16 at WJPD in Ishpeming. That's where Carl Pellenpah started too. I actually worked at WJPD for like 3 weeks as well, so we've had that in common.
Really high ratings back then.
About you.
Highest ratings ever.
There he filled roles in news, sports, and weather before eventually becoming operation and station manager. In 1975, Ryan transitioned to government service at District Representative for Congressman Phil Ruppe, followed by 12 years on the Ishpeming Board of Education and 6 years on the Marquette City Commission. From 1977 to 2003, he was a public affairs representative and later district manager for Cleveland Cliffs Iron Company. Don Ryan returned to WLUC in 2003 as a host and producer of TV6's The Ryan Report, a platform for community leaders to inform and engage the region. His passionate commitment to economic development has been reflected through leadership roles with the Lake Superior Community Partnership, Operation Action UP, and regional job force initiatives. Recognized in 2019 as WLUC's first Carl V. Pellenpah Lifetime Achievement Award, Don Ryan exemplifies decades of dedicated service to Upper Michigan broadcasting, business, and civic communities. So we are excited to call this studio, name it after you.
I'm flabbergasted. That's amazing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey.
I've kind of told the story before, but in my heart, I'm this little kid who wanted to be a radio announcer. And so the broadcasting industry has always been really where I want to be. And even though I went off and did other things, in 1964, when I had the opportunity to come back here, this is where I wanted to finish up my career. I love TV6 and everything it means to the UP. And so this has just been outstanding.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Don, for all that. Does anybody have any final parting words? Anybody with a microphone? Anybody want to say anything? Brad?
I've said it all before, and it was asset to the community, and we were really proud to have him as a powerful force on the television station as well. And it's hard to find people like that. Maybe Ed McBroom someday will take over for him, or somebody else like that. We can get him to come in, move, and get off his farm, and come up here once a week. But it's fun. It's a great business, and it's changed a lot. But there's still important facets, which I had mentioned to you a little earlier. I want to talk to you about, but he's one of them. Carl Pellenpaugh. I mean, these were anchors in the community. So
you're standing next to one too.
Yeah, this guy
one.
here. Yeah, that story I told over there was we built the building, moved him back over, and put him in it with Ed Carney.
Steve, do you have any party thoughts?
I just want to say it's just been truly an honor to share the same newsroom with Don, and I have been the guest on his show a couple of times. It's just truly an honor to be with somebody of his stature and community and connections. Then the work he puts into it, you can't even imagine how much he did behind the scenes. And and for a period of time, he did the whole show from his house during the COVID period.
Yeah.
And he did everything right from scratch. So it's quite a remarkable feat. And my hat's off to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Marty, Senator, any final thoughts?
I would simply say he embodies your phrase, someplace special. Don Ryan is truly someone special. And so we're just so grateful for his years of service. So again, thanks, Don.
My head is just getting bigger.
Well, you don't got to worry, because Rick's is taking up most of the camera angle right now. So,
Senator, any final thoughts?
Well, Don, you've done this great work for this special place we all love, and help more people love it as we go along. And so thank you for that. Definitely someone special and someplace special. That's the right way to think of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
So, Don, any final thoughts? How much time do we have left?
I have no idea.
No?
I have no idea what's going on here.
Well, that's good. That was part of the
purpose. From the moment the balloons hit us on the head, I thought, where are we going?
Yeah. So. Well, why don't you give us one last sign off, and and we'll call it good.
I think we go to a commercial break here. No, we go to the end of the show. Okay. Well, I'm not totally prepared for that, but that's the final edition of the Ryan Report, and you can still watch it, though, on UpperMichiganSource.com and streaming on TV6 Plus, on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Thanks so much for my guests for coming in today, Brad Van Slaters, Steve Asplund, Senator McBroom, Marty Fattanti, and Rick Rose. And thank you for tuning in. I usually say see you next Sunday morning, but hope to see you around soon.